So after we saw the death of Scrappy, I was wondering how will it go wrong for Rock, because killing Scrappy was just the first mistake of many, and in season 1, we learned how she had to have eyes at the back of her head, especially when it came to protecting Kanan. She was always looking over her shoulder, and in the 3 months where he was away, we saw the empire that she built. But she really doesn't help herself with covering lies on top of more lies, and with all the other issues she had with the street game and Detective Howard, it was always going to come to a point where she takes her eye off one of them. And I'm sure we all know Rock by now. Power and sitting on the throne is what she loves. Even though she loves Kanan and she's trying to protect him from the truth, the game is what matters to Rock. Nobody fucks with her money and nobody fucks with her business. But ultimately, where she took one eye off Unique in episode 2, she took one eye off of Kanan in episode 3, and that's when Detective Howard took his chance. And now Kanan knows, especially because the second time Howard stepped to him, he revealed he knows he shot him, but he took the bullet for him because he's his son. And in this moment, it dawned on Kanan, shit, maybe he is telling the truth. But this episode set up a hell of a lot. Unique's going nowhere. Marvin's character showed a lot more layers than we've seen before. Crown really is treading on thin ice. We saw Juke coming face to face with Kenya, and Famous is getting deeper into the game. So with that being said, let's look at Rock's stash house being hit. And even though Unique says he wants peace, we all know that's bullshit. And no doubt, Unique was the one who sent these 2 kids into the bodega to make sure Juliana was the only one in the store. And there were questions whether Juliana could have taken the stash, but in my preview for episode 3, I mentioned how that wouldn't make sense, because Juliana is the cousin of Joaquin, and Joaquin is Rock's connect, and she knew it straight away. She knew it was Unique. Now, Unique knew where to hit because his girl saw Rock coming out from the back of the bodega in episode 2. Now, just before Rock realized her money was gone, she told Marvin she wanted to expand out of the city, and that's going to be into the Italian mafia's territory. But Marvin's a character who's showing a lot more layers this season. He knows Rock is making a decision too quick, especially because they don't know the players in Jersey. But regardless, it's her call, and she said this new spot will be Damon's. But she had to deal with a different issue first, because with her money now gone, Rock went on a wild goose chase, but to no avail. And what also didn't help was, Lou was ignoring her pages, because we all know how he wants out of the game. Now at first, both Marvin and Lou thought it was Juliana, but that never made sense as I just mentioned. But she needed to fix this issue quick, especially because she had a re-up in 2 days. Now what else didn't help the situation was Lou ignoring her calls, so she had to go find him. Now 2 things came from this situation. We saw Rock meeting Cartier Fareed, and even though it was the first time they've met, it definitely won't be the last. But Crown really is nosy, and he noticed Rock had an issue with Lou being in the studio. So he stepped to Rock later on in the episode because they have a common interest. Rock wants Lou back in the game and out the studio, and so does Crown, and he's willing to give up a share of the label and also a place where she can clean her money. Now if this does go ahead, not only will this impact Lou, but also Juke, because even though Crown knows she can sing, she also needs to look the part, and that's the reason why Lou chose Ziza, because she ticks both boxes. So Lou may not be the only one who Rock could fuck up by taking a share of the label. Juke could also be caught up in Rock trying to control the family as usual. But coming back to Unique, they had a damn hard time looking for him and Juliana until Worrell said Unique stepped to him and he wanted to talk. And I really still can't believe Rock chose to bring Worrell and kill Scrap. This could have been Scrappy talking to Rock, not Worrell. And he doesn't seem to have the full trust of Rock, Lou, or Marvin either, but he did bring them to Unique. And what Unique wanted to prove was, even though Rock beat him and he's got nothing left, he can still cause issues for her on the streets. But all he wanted in return for her money was peace. Now he wants to be left alone and his family not touched and safe, and it seems like she's happy to give him what he wants. But this is one of her biggest mistakes ever. Law 15 teaches you, crush your enemy totally and don't give them any sort of way they can come back. In other words, she should have killed Unique and Worrell, but she didn't. And I still think we're going to see the alliance with Unique and the Italians come back to haunt Rock, because in a recent interview he did say he's going to do whatever's necessary. So in my opinion, she should have killed him. But that wasn't only Rock's mistake of episode 3. Kanan had to find out of Scrappy's death from Famous. But not only did he find out about Scrappy's death from someone else, Rock lied and said how it was a suicide. And she also said how Howard's mind is all twisted. And that was after Juke told him not to tell Rock about Howard stepping to him. Now, I do always make a point of how we need to look at different perspectives when it comes to power, because some storylines are definitely open to interpretation. Now, Juke once told Kanan this in season 1.
And there's shit about our family that you don't know. Secrets you don't wanna know.
So, one of the secrets was how she knew about D-Wiz. And I do wonder, does Juke know more? Because even though she seems surprised, she knows who Rock is, and she's a lot more advanced than Kanan. But stepping away from Kanan and Rock, let's have a look at what Juke was up to in episode 3. Now, she was singing a song called Bruised, which can be found on Spotify, and every single song on Power that's played in the background has a deeper meaning. Streets in the Body in season 1 told Kanan's story of how the stash house was being robbed, and 4 quarters and 2 dimes referenced Buck 20. With Juke's song, it was a clear dedication to Nicole. She's bruised and she's hurt, and she sure won't be happy when Caesar makes a remix out of her song. But Marvin's also bruised because he knows he fucked up, because he knows he's never been the father he should have been. Now, we also saw him in anger management therapy flirting with Renee, but also taking her advice when it came to her breathing exercises, which stopped him from taking it any further with this resident from the projects. And these are the different layers we're seeing from Marvin in season 2. Last season he was portrayed as a brother who was always disregarded and someone who just had this aggression and loyalty. And in season 2, we're beginning to see the layers of comedy, raw emotion, him controlling his temper, but if someone crosses him, I'm sure he won't hesitate to do what needs to be done. And hopefully we'll see him go one step further, either in episode 4 or 5, and apologize to Juke. But Juke really is missing something, and she clearly wants Kenya back in her life. So we saw how Kenya clocked Juke at church, and she knew that this was her daughter, because no mother really forgets. Now, I also did raise a brief point in a previous video of how I wouldn't be surprised if Rock made a move back in the day where she paid off or scared Kenya and forced her out of town, because Rock is someone who likes control over her family, everybody playing their positions, very similar to Monet Tejada, but just on a larger scale. And Rock does what benefits Rock, so I do think there's a deeper story to Marvin, Juke, and Kenya, which is something I'm really intrigued to know more of. Now, elsewhere we still saw Famous struggling in the streets. He still doesn't have anywhere to live, and even though Crown said he'll talk to Cartier, it's always a favor for a favor, so I wonder what Crown will ask for in return. But Crown did give him an idea. Famous loves rapping about the streets, and now he's homeless. He said he's got the perfect view of the streets, so rap about that. For example, he's selling drugs through his mixtapes, which by the way is leaving a lot of evidence and something the cops may pick up on. But I wonder if we could see Famous back in the studio when and if Rock and Crown force Lou out the business. Now, elsewhere we saw Detective Burke and her father, and he told Burke she needs to trust Howard. But we all know Detective Burke. She approached Howard's ex-partner and her ex-love interest, Aiden. She said how she doesn't trust Howard, and of course she's right. But the only reason Howard is telling Burke to stay away is because in his own way, he's trying to protect her, but she doesn't want to listen, and that's the problem. So I wonder how deep Detective Burke will actually go, and will she uncover how Kanan's Detective Howard's son, and maybe more. Now I also do wonder, is there a story behind this ring? Because they referenced it in episode 1, and they did make sure we didn't miss it in this scene. But we also know how Power loved throwing in a curveball and making us look in different directions, but I did think it was worth a small mention, and if there's a story behind it.
I ain't leaving until I find my ring.
But that's a breakdown of episode 3, very much a story builder and laying the foundation to Kanan really having questions for his mom. But I don't think he's gonna ask Rock anymore. I think he's gonna go searching for the truth himself, which is why he could find himself visiting Vernon Stark real soon. But drop all your thoughts down below on all things Kanan, Juke, Marvin, and does Unique want peace? I think we all know he'll be back to try and take back what's his. But drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and of course if you are new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 3 and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.